What if one morning you woke up and everything was too loud? It's like somebody took a hold of your brain, took the volume control, and turned it way up without your knowledge. Well, for a lot of people, including me, this is a reality every day because we suffer from a hearing disorder called hyperacusis. Hey, it's your cranky neighborhood ice beast Zodi, and today I want to talk about something really serious. And this is something that I've been dealing with for about 2 years now. Earlier this year, I found out that I suffer from hyperacusis. Now, I've heard it both ways. I've heard it hyperacusis, I've heard it hyperacusis. Basically what it is you have normal hearing, but you have sound sensitivity, and these sounds would not be perceived as loud with other people with normal hearing. So, how does this happen? Well, for some people it's sound exposure. For other people it's another condition. For me, it's connected to my post-traumatic stress disorder, and it can and that's one of the associated conditions because it happens in the same part of the brain. Now you'll find that a lot of times that when veterans come back from war and they hear a loud sound, they react to it in a way that really does not match that stimulus. Like, maybe they'll hear their phone ring and they're not really expecting it and they have that startle response. Well, it's sort of the same thing. Now, I can only really offer my experience. How do you find out that you have hyperacusis in the first place? I have a sensitivity to sounds. Maybe I have this. The only way to really know for sure is to go see a doctor. And unfortunately, that can be a problem in and of itself if you go and get it tested by an audiologist. And that's a doctor that specializes in ears. The actual testing was incredibly painful because the test that they use to figure out if you have this or not is called a loudness discomfort test, and basically they play you sounds until you can't handle it anymore. Normally a sound would be too loud to somebody if it was like, 80 dB. Unfortunately, my tolerance for sound falls within the 50 range, which is pretty well below normal conversation. It's not fun. You don't think about how sound can affect you or how noisy this world actually is until your ears have problems like this. This isn't the same as ringing in your ears, which is called tinnitus or tinnitus. I've heard it both ways. Now, tinnitus can happen with hyperacusis, but they're not the same thing. Often people with hyperacusis, there's nothing wrong with their ears. The same for me. There's nothing wrong with my hearing at all. The thing that you learn to understand with this condition is that your ears hear, but your brain listens, and it happens in the brain. There are other conditions like this called misophonia, which is an aversion to certain sounds. Let's say you don't like it when people chew. Let's say you don't like nails on a chalkboard. Let's say certain sounds just set you off. Hyperacusis, every sound above a certain intensity or loudness is going to set you off. I've had to give up on a lot of things or delay a lot of things or, modify my life, I used to like to go to movies. I used to like to go to concerts. I can't do that anymore because it's just too loud. I've had to give up on singing for a while or find ways to do it without hurting myself, because one of the symptoms of hyperacusis that you can get is ear pain and dizziness. Symptoms depend person to person. A lot of times you have a constant pain in your ears that's just aggravated by sound, and you need to realize that it's not your ears, it's your brain. I've heard a lot of people say, being oversensitive and, you're just complaining, it's all in your head. Well, they're right about it being all in your head. Unfortunately, there really is no cure. There's no magic bullet that's going to fix this. There are things you can do to sort of make it easier on yourself, like you can get filters like these ones that are pretty much like normal earplugs, but you have this filter here, right here, this red thing, and it makes things less loud. These are expensive, but they're worth it. Unfortunately, not everybody can afford things like this, and it's really a problem because it can absolutely be exacerbated by overprotecting yourself. Because when you plug your ears, when you take away that stimulus, what does your brain want to do? Well, it wants to fill in stuff. And then, unfortunately, you get more and more sensitive. Another thing you can do is try sound therapy. Kind of a catch-22 because, again, it only really works while you're using it. You can get little tinnitus maskers that are sort of like the sound filter that I showed you, and they go into your ear and they help. But again, they only really help when you use them, and unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is cost prohibitive, and I'm really fortunate that I was able to get things to help me. If you're going through this, you absolutely have to understand that yes, this is a real condition, it does exist, and if people are giving you crap over it, explain it to them, because maybe they don't get it. And if they're still giving you crap, you can show them this video. I don't really feel like many people understand or know about this condition, and I think it's really underdiagnosed and really not paid a whole lot of attention to, and it sucks because it really does affect a whole lot of people, me included. People have asked me, how do you fursuit? How do you do things? There are things you can do, but at the end of the day, your life is really forever changed. You don't really understand or know, you don't really appreciate, your ability to deal with sound in a noisy world like this. It's absolutely a real condition, and it absolutely deserves more attention. Somebody is suffering from this. This can be what it's like. It can be constant pain. As a friend, you need to be sensitive to that. And it means a lot to me. And that's really why I made this video. And if you watched the whole thing, thanks so much.